Could the European Union fall apart, split into two, or see an exit by a country like Greece? Our next guest thinks the logistics of printing a new currency could keep the beleaguered monetary union together. For his case on why the likelihood of a fractured eurozone is pretty low, we turn to Chad Wasilenkoff. He's CEO of Fortress Paper. He is in Vancouver. Hi, Chad. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great. And yourself?
I'm good, thank you. So why do you think that the actual physical printing of money may be a deterrent to the eurozone actually breaking up?
So typically a national bank will take anywhere from 3 to 4 years to design and develop a new currency to be able to push it out into circulation in a normalized fashion. Under a crisis mode, such as we've obviously seen in the recent time with Iraq or going on now in Libya, again, it still takes a minimum of 12 months to push out a new currency. First, you have to design and develop it, implement new security features that are industry specific. All those have to be assembled prior to being shipped over to the paper maker, which is where we operate. Then they're put together there, which can take 3 to 4 months. Then they get off to the security printer, and then again they go through 6 or 8 processes there. And again, that whole thing takes a year to build up enough reserves and push it out into the economy. So when we look at the eurozone, it is very challenging to even contemplate the logistics behind that. It could be easier if one country, such as Greece, as you mentioned, were to fall off. But if the whole thing were to come crumbling down, it's just not logistically possible.
Now, when you mentioned Libya, they are still using currency with Gaddafi picture on it, and in Iraq for a time, after Hussein went down, the currency still had his picture on it, did it not? So that sort of goes to your point that it doesn't happen overnight to change the currency.
No, exactly. The people of those two particular countries obviously did not want to see their previous leaders on their banknotes and carrying them around in their pockets, but they really had no choice. During crippling times like that, the first thing is to save the economy, get things flowing again, get capital moving, increase consumer spending, and basically rebuild an entire banking system, first and foremost. And then sort of the last stage is to replace the currency to change the dictator on the front.
Now, Chad, your company has a Swiss subsidiary, I understand, and it's involved in the printing of currencies. Could you explain its operations?
Sure. So one of our subsidiaries is located in Switzerland. We are the sole banknote provider for the Swiss franc. We make the euro for 10 of the 17 euro countries. We also make currencies for about a dozen other countries on any given year around the world.
Okay, let's get back to Greece, and maybe you could lay out a scenario for us whereby, let's say, Greece does exit the eurozone, and then they need to and want to start printing the drachma. How would that all work, and could it be disastrous?
First and foremost, they would probably have no choice but stick with the euro currency. Again, creating a new drachma would take a minimum, really, 9 to 12 months, and probably most likely even fast-tracking it would take that 12 months. But again, the very next day after this breakdown, and obviously that'd probably be in the event of the government defaulting, they still need to pay all the employees, people need to go to the stores to buy their milk, and they need that sort of medium, otherwise everything needs to go to the barter system, and obviously that's not a reasonable solution.
What about, well, actually, let me get to this question. We've heard from Nicolas Sarkozy on a number of occasions, the president of France. He used the term two-speed Europe or a two-zone eurozone. He's speaking more philosophically. But what if it happened in a concrete sense? Which currencies would which countries use? How would that work?
So currencies in general are issued by national banks. Usually it's one national bank per country, such as in Canada, the United States, etc. In a monetary union like we have over in the EU, it is a collective group of governments that form that. So no one government has ownership, so to speak, of the euro. There's also approximately 875 billion in circulation. Again, those notes represent a liability. Again, there's trust inherent in those bills that you could turn them in and get that money or a different exchange rate, but a different currency from a national bank. So no government is going to want to take that on. There is a possibility of a breakdown into, say, two unions, so to speak, one being led by the French and one by the German, but it would require some unilateral agreements to both be able to utilize the euro, because you just can't change out that currency in a timely fashion. Right now, there's the equivalent of about 15 billion individual banknotes in circulation right now in the eurozone, which equates to about 15,000 tons of banknote capacity. Of the non-government-owned banknote capacity or commercial capacity, that would represent about 30% of the global supply. And again, it would take a couple of years to change out all of the euro.
I understand, Chad, that euro production next year is expected to be up by 40%. Why such a big jump?
Just consumer confidence. People are less likely to keep as much money in banks. Other people just have a bit larger emergency fund, so to speak, and just individual countries as well. If you were sitting in Greece and worried about the stability of your banks and your life savings, again, you might be tempted to pull that currency out. The other thing we're seeing is a huge increase in high denomination banknotes, and that's happening in more secure countries around the world, such as whether it's the 1,000 Swiss franc, the 500 euro, other large banknotes. Again, these banknotes are not used for transactions. People aren't buying coffee or newspapers with those. That's strictly a store of wealth, and again, the huge increases in those particular volumes these days.
Let's get back to this country as we wrap things up here. The Bank of Canada just introduced the new $100 polymer bill. What do you think of it? And I understand you have sort of a rival product that you think may be a little bit at least different, if not better.
Yeah, so Canada has adopted a polymer banknote, so it is basically a plastic type of banknote. It definitely has increased durability, and industry-wide it's believed to have a lot less security. But the economies make sense because those banknotes can last in circulation a lot longer. With these new polymer notes, though, you can't have a lot of the traditional security features you would find throughout the world, such as the watermark when you hold it up to the light, the embedded threads, which most banknotes now have in place. But again, you get some transparent windows and a few other features with it. We've created a new product. It's called DuraSafe, where we take two thin sheets of banknote paper, we bond them together, and we cut holes in it just before bonding it together. We put molten polymer in the middle. What we end up with is a much more durable product, similar to what Canada is going with, but it still has the same look, feel, and touch of a cotton-based banknotes, and still all the level 1 or high-level security features that you traditionally find in banknotes.
Well, Chad, I think we all got educated today on currencies and how they're made and so on. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
That was Chad Wasilenkoff.